There are a couple more things that I can do to prep this file in the HTML, and that is go ahead and add bolding to those areas that need bolding by using the strong tag, and italicize those areas that need to be italicized by using the emphasis tag. And this is very simple to do. For example, CellSite here needs to be bolded, so I can drop down to the property inspector and click the bold icon. And there is another word here, maximum, that needs to be italicized. So I'll go ahead and hit the italicize. And if I look at the code here, I can see that for the italicize, it's not an I like it used to be in HTML. It is now an EM for emphasis. That's the italics. And for CellSite, you can see that a strong tag is wrapped around the words CellSite. And it looks like we're ready to preview this file. I'm going to save it and File. This is a new feature for you, Preview in Browser in Dreamweaver. And look, I have all these browsers set up, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and I can also edit my browser list and add more browsers in case you don't have all these selections but you know that you have a browser installed. And here's my browser list, and I'm going to add, by clicking on this plus, the Opera browser. And it asks me where's the file, the application file, and I'm going to browse for it. And here's Opera, and there's Opera EXE on my machine, and just hit OK. And that's how quickly you can add a browser. Okay, and my primary browser, by the way, this F12 key you'll see, is Internet Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now watch this. File, Preview in Browser, iExplore, Internet Explorer. I can just hit F12 if I wanted to, or I can do it here from the menu. Or, and check this out, there's a third way. This little globe in Dreamweaver will give me the same options. So I'm going to preview in Internet Explorer. And this is what my page looks like at this point. It's great. It's starting to shape up. So I'm going to close that page. Now I want you to notice that in the real CellSite, look at this gap between the CellSite header and this horizontal rule. And what I'd like to do now is show you what it looks like in Dreamweaver. So there's a substantial gap there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you another new feature today. Normally, what we would do is go into Code View. I'm going to go into the split view here. I'll just go into Code View. And right here before the head, I could add a style tag. That's just a short version of a style tag. And for H1s, I'm going to use the H1 as a selector. I could change the margin, the bottom margin. That's really what I want. And I'm going to change it to 0 pixels. Okay, so there's me a new rule for the H1s. And I can see now that it doesn't really change. Alright, so remember the box model. What you need to know here is that this horizontal rule also has margin and padding on it. Okay, it also has margin and padding. But I can kind of override all this by doing something called a negative margin. I'm going to do a negative 10 pixel margin for this H1, and now I can see that they are a little bit closer together. I'm going to save my document and then preview in the browser again. I'm going to start with Internet Explorer. And you can see that the text is actually closer now. And that's desirable. That's what I want. Good. Now let's view that same file from Dreamweaver in Chrome. Preview in Chrome. And that looks decent. let's go back to Dreamweaver and preview in Firefox. And that looks decent. It's a little bit less of a gap than I would like. It's too small, but it's close enough. And finally, if we wanted to, we could preview in Opera. I don't really want to. I don't use that browser much. Okay, so that way, if you preview in all these different browsers, you know that you're hitting the largest target audience possible with the largest demographic of people that use all these different browsers. So that's good. All right, so that's called a negative margin. So remember the box model, you're changing that margin, but you can change it more than just the positive values, 0 to 100. You can do a negative, and that will force it to change position. Okay, other things that we can do. Since I did the header there, that was the H1, I can also do the same thing for this H2. And you'll notice that all of the H2s have a line, a horizontal rule beneath them. So let's go and change those. But here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to show you a new method of adding styles. So let's say I delete all those styles. And I'm just in Design View, and I want to make those same changes. Over here is the, on the right, is the CSS Styles panel. And if I double click the CSS Styles tab in that panel, it will expand and collapse. With it expanded, I can go to the bottom of it, and there's a plus on a piece of paper, and if I move over it, I get a tooltip that says New CSS Rule. If I click it, I get this New CSS Rule dialog. Guess what I'm going to do? Drop this box down here and choose a tag selector. It redefines an HTML element. Tag selector. Which tag? The H1. I can type it in, or I can use this little drop down arrow to show me a listing of all the tags possible. And I'm going to choose H1. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want this rule to be defined in this document only. Look, I could create a new style sheet file right now, but I don't want to. I want to choose to keep it in this document only and hit OK. And now I'll get the CSS rule definition for H1 dialog. So we're redefining how an H1 looks. And what I wanted to do was change something in the box model. So the tricky thing about this dialog is getting oriented with it and finding out where all of your properties are. So in this category column here, this category area, I can choose the box category, and here I have padding and margin. I'm going to deselect same for all, and I will choose for the bottom margin to be -10, and here's my unit over on the right, pixels. Apply, and I can see the change automatically behind the scenes. And if I hit OK and I go to the code view, I can see that the same code that I would have written by hand was written by Dreamweaver, by the editor. Let's do the same thing for the H2s. So I'm going to go over here and create a new CSS rule, and it's going to be for a tag. Which tag? The H2s. And I want to go to the box, deselect same for all, and on the bottom, -10 pixels. And just like that, for operation, it's changed, and so has camouflage. And I could probably do the same thing for the H3s. Let's do that now. I want to choose a tag selector for the H3s. Go to the box model. And on the bottom, -10. Good stuff. And that's how my page looks right now. Right, in the next video. Oh, you know what else? I want to go ahead and change these bullet lists so that they move over to the right, flush with the rest of the text. So let me show you the original cell site so you can see how the bullets look. See how they should fit close to the edge. Let's do that. I can show you how to do that right now. And we don't even have to select those bullets. What we'll do is we will just use the CSS Styles panel, CSS Styles tab, and create a new CSS rule. And we will use a tag selector, and we're going to change the way an unordered list appears, a UL. We'll try that first, and if that doesn't work, we will try the list item. And we will set the margin for the left-hand side to be 0 and apply. Okay, now that didn't work for me. Let's try the same thing on the padding. And there it was. It was the padding this time that was causing us problems. Let's do 10 pixels of padding and see how that looks. Let's try 20. And I think that looks about right. We hit OK. And if I scroll down my page, everywhere that I have bullets, because I applied the UL selector, I used the UL as a selector, the bullets are all changed.